Hello, come and take a seat. Come and get involved in this. This is Talkaoke. We're just starting up. We don't really know what we're talking about. We're just sort of like, just kind of.
Fluffing the breeze.
Yeah, exactly. We're just kind of like, just digging up the dregs of the previous conversation, which was about art and science. But I feel like it's time to move on. But anyway, just say what were you going to say, Rick?
To say about method, isn't like going back during art school. It's all about the method, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, yeah. Where you
there's no set method.
No, there is no set method, but you're supposed to see some sort of development in your practice through art school. So you have to. You can't just randomly. Yeah. Well, I suppose you could randomly go from topic to topic.
So there is an artistic method.
Yeah, you're supposed to have some sort of development to your practice.
What's this thing? Oh, we're going to get more of this. Obviously, I thought we'd wrap this one up, but we're going to get some more of it. Anyway, so this is Talkaoke. Come and take a seat. Everyone's welcome. This is the chat. This is the table of chat. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. My name's Mikey. I'm the man in the middle, as you can see. I'm a man. I'm in the middle. Let's find out. We've got. You're our cameraman. What's your name?
Rick.
Rick and
Graham.
And
Catherine.
Whoa, excuse me. Let me just turn you down a little bit. Go.
Catherine.
And
Elizabeth.
Anthony.
Ahmed.
Ahmed.
Shile. Francesca.
Francis.
Okay, that's it. Come and sit down. Come and get involved in this. What do we want to talk about? Come and sit down as well. Lead by example. What's your name?
Bright.
Bright and
Michael.
and what's your name?
Florence.
And
Sharon.
so we've got a whole bunch of people around the table. We've been talking all weekend. We talked about so many different subjects. From
Just a biblical name.
Sharon.
Sharon was the.
all right, let's just like
my name.
let's not talk about his name. Let's talk about what everyone wants to talk about. Let's find a subject first of all. What do people want to talk about?
Sport.
Oh, sorry?
Sport.
What do you want to say about sports?
Football.
Oh, you want to say about football? Anything particularly you want to say about football?
Champions League.
Okay,
Today.
Champions League. Oh, right.
Today we got Champions League.
Okay.
Final.
So it's a Champions League final. It's not today, is it? Is it?
Real Madrid vs Atletico Madrid.
Is it today? Rick, why didn't you? Where's Rick gone? What's that? Is it today? Are you sure about that? Okay, someone Google this. Let's ask Google. All right, so they've got the football chat. Any other subjects that people want to offer to talk about?
Science in schools and the relation to when it's taught in schools, it seems to be in a very abstract way, whereas science is, of course, of very real life applications. That's what we've been learning about a lot here today, is the sort of the applications, blast injuries, all the kind of engineering, medical things. And how it better to relate the two things together, because of course you kind of have to learn them in an abstract way, so just random equations in schools, but actually they're quite.
So how to basically fit all this together to make science in schools make more sense, I suppose. Is that what it would be fair to say? Yeah. Any other thoughts about what we could talk about? Yeah. Survival of you, survival of the human race, survival of the planet.
Survival on a desert island or something.
Okay, how to survive.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd like to know how to survive. Maybe we could combine all of these things together. Maybe you could use science. If a few Talkaokes back, we were talking about if Bear Grylls taught science, would the kids be more interested because it would be like a bit more compelling? Because like if you didn't listen, you might eat the wrong mushroom and die. So we could combine these things together. Any other thoughts about what we're talking about?
Everything seems to be rotating around something else, like the moon around the Earth and the Earth around the sun. What does the sun rotate around?
Okay, that's probably quite a factual question we can answer quite quickly.
But it rotates around the centre of the galaxy, which itself is moving away from the centre of the universe as we know it.
All right. So
what's that rotating around?
Okay. What's the okay?
We want to know what's in the middle, controlling. Okay. Maybe you are the middle.
Okay. Well, if you read the notes to,
It expands. The universe is expanding just all the time.
If you've read the notes to Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time, he says he was once at a talk and somebody said to him, listen, what you're saying, Mr. Hawking, is complete nonsense. Don't you know the world is supported by a giant turtle?
Yes.
To which Stephen...
And 4 elephants.
And 4 elephants. And Stephen Hawking said, what's the turtle supported on? And the woman said, you're very clever, Mr. Hawking, but it's turtles all the way down. So that's the answer to that one. Okay, so let's move on. So what do we want to talk about? Survival, teaching science, teaching survival. Could we use football to teach science? We were talking about that earlier on. Where do people want to go with this? Yeah.
Well, in survival, you need to keep your concentration, so maybe a game of football would,
Yeah, would help with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it help? Do you concentrate when you're playing football?
Yeah, a bit.
Do you concentrate when you're learning science?
Yeah, as well, yeah.
You do. Okay, so you're good at concentrating. I mean, do you think that science could be taught in a better way? Is that why you brought this up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in science. I did 3 A-levels in science and a degree in science, so yeah, clearly interested in it. But a lot of people seem kind of disinterested because you're taught in this very abstract way. You're sort of learning these random equations in school, like HCl and CaCO3, which means nothing to anyone, except, of course, when you use it. Like today, we're having a talk on rocks.
Yeah.
They dissolve rocks. To break them apart, they use acid plus carbonate. So all the equations that you're learning in school, you're actually using them when you're studying rocks as a geologist.
So instead of just with a few facts and figures, and instead of like letters and stuff like that, bring in the rocks, bring in the acid, it makes it much more compelling. I wish Lydia was still here. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah. Florence, come back. All right. I think we are all naturally born scientists. We're born as a scientist.
Yeah.
And as we grow up, we explore the world around us. We touch things, we probe things, we want to examine their properties.
Yeah.
But as we get into adulthood, it's kind of beaten out of most of us.
Do you think the science is beaten out of us?
Yes, it is. And that's the sad reality of it. It's because the real world, as some people would like to phrase, requires you to earn money, have an income.
So it's like the school of hard knocks knocks the science out of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Do people agree? Any scientists around here? Any? Yeah.
I agree with them. Sometimes you just gotta live with the reality, and sometimes you got some dreams that you want to do, but then sometimes you gotta live in a real world. Science or art or whatever. Someone is born artist, someone is born scientist.
Yeah.
But when you grow up, you realize you got a living to do.
Yeah. Okay.
You gotta get money. You gotta live your kids. You gotta feed your kids.
Yeah.
You gotta feed me.
Science isn't necessarily going to feed your kids, and art less so. Okay. So maybe that's. Do people get the science and, for a certain extent, art knocked out of them? This explorative. You have. Come and talk about it. We've got spare seats. Do they get the creativity knocked out of them just by life? Yeah?
Yes, think about it. When you're a child, all you want to do is explore. You spend your entire life, all you want to do is you're climbing trees, you're painting, and do all these kind of things. And then as soon as when you start growing an adult, you stop exploring. You're told when you're in school, you're taught how to think. You're taught not to explore. You're taught not to go around enjoying all these things you're doing. You're taught that you shouldn't be taught music, things like this, and you have to just comply with the system.
So it's about compliance in a way. By complying, we forget about this sense of exploration.
Perhaps the incentive for profit and actually being fed increases innovation, which means we turn back to science potentially. So maybe that's something to incentive via profit making.
Okay, so is it if the incentive of wanting to get fed could make us more creative, possibly?
Exactly.
So
okay.
Like positive. So it's survival.
Okay, survival. Yeah, back to survival. So survival seems like a good way to teach all these things. Okay, where do we want to go with this? Do we want some survival tips? How do we stop people from getting the exploratory feeling knocked out of them, this sense of exploration, this creativity, this natural curiosity? Does everyone agree that that's what life does, that's what school does?
Not entirely, no, because there's got to be a point where you say, well, if you're just exploring and you don't ever stop and do a job, what have you actually, you still get to the end of your life. So I've explored 100 things, but I've never actually done anything.
Do you think that's how Bear Grylls feels? Do you know Bear Grylls?
Yes, but he's got a specific job. I mean, that's his job, is that he's a presenter, teacher of a subject, and that is his job.
Okay, so he doesn't necessarily, but if you just explore and don't ever do a job, then what's the point of all that exploration, all that creative stuff? You got a point? What's your name again?
Ocean. Well, school also has exploring, like PG, how you explore, so it's not that it's actually getting knocked out of you, trying to keep it in. but they're also trying to make you learn things at the same time.
Okay, so it's about channeling it, maybe channeling that exploratory feeling. Okay, so this is Talkaoke, it's a freeform talk show. We're kind of talking about Sharon is basically saying that the reason why people are not that interested in science is because they have that feeling of it, wanting to explore and wanting to discover, knocked out of them by life. But then, what's your name again? Sorry, what's your name?
Catherine.
Catherine was kind of saying, well, you need to actually do a job, and you need to actually what was it again? Ocean. Ocean was saying you've got to channel that into something, and maybe that's what you can keep it, but you've got to channel it. That's where we are right now. But I don't know, what do other people think? Whoops, what happened there? Was that a balloon? Lost the balloon. So that's where. Give us a final thought before you go.
Let's get creative.
Okay. All right. But how is the next question? Okay. So that's where we are right now. Well, if you're going to give us the final thought, if you're off, you can. Or are you going to stay? Yeah. Come sit down then. Okay.
Creative industries is the third biggest employer in the UK.
No way.
Yes, it is. So therefore, there is masses of creativity in this country. It's just not valued, and sometimes it's not valued because of the emphasis that we put on our junior school, secondary school, and post-16 education.
Yeah.
There are jobs. There's masses of jobs, certainly in the south of England. And I'm a A-level lecturer in art and design, so that's probably why I feel like that.
We had a big face-off in the previous session between
I was in the robotics, being creative.
Between the artists and the scientists, and we're basically, us artists, we lost it, didn't we? We lost it. We lost the whole debate. Sorry. Well, we needed you, but you were there. Yeah.
Because I was at this brilliant exhibition in Shoreditch last year where they had 16 artists and 16 scientists, and they paired each one of them together. So they had an artist each artist make some kind of art based on a scientific principle or experiment. So they had an artist do an entire quilt made out of different shades of white to talk about autism. They had an artist who was doing a comic about bees, and that's actually something really interesting. Is that how art and science are seen as two completely polar opposite things, whereas actually there's so much sort of overlap. And because science, you have to be creative to be a scientist, because you're constantly thinking, you're constantly designing, you're constantly experimenting, thinking, how can I make this better? How can I do this? What other ways can I think to do that? And likewise, artists, there's sometimes a very scientific way. You think of a sculpture, they have to do it in a certain way to get a certain effect.
Right.
Things like that.
So they're rolled into each other in a way. Come and have a seat. Come and get involved in this. We're talking about creativity. Are we getting the creativity knocked out of us by life? Ocean over here says, actually, survival could be a very creative thing. Come and sit down. Come and get involved in this. Well, I think we scared them off with our subject there. Anyway, what do you think? Science and art, are they different things? Are they the same thing?
Well, you've got to think about it. It matters. It depends on what science you're doing and what art you're doing.
Yeah. What sort of art? Do you do any art or any science?
Well, that also depends.
Does it?
Yeah.
Give us an example of some science you've done recently.
Well, we recently defragmented an eye.
You did what?
Defragmented an eye.
What does that mean? How do you defragment an eye?
Well, you just sort of take it apart and then look at what's inside, like the lens and all that.
How? With a knife?
Yeah, well, tweezers, a knife, scissors.
Okay, fair enough. Come and sit down. Come and get involved in this. We're talking about, there's a few different subjects on the table. Creativity. Do we get the creativity knocked out of us? Are we celebrating the creativity enough? Do we value creativity, I suppose, is what you're saying over here. Science and art, are they that different? These are some of the questions. Have you got anything to say on the matter?
Not yet.
Not yet? Anyone over here?
I feel like you need like some type of inspiration to make sure you have a theory or like something to actually contribute to the science. Yeah, because you don't just like appear with like a theory or something. You actually need to see something that, or like be creative and get hands on to do. Like if you just look around us and see every structure and like every building that's here, some type of creativity has had to go into it, and then someone's obviously had to put it into practice. So you kind of need both sides to make sure that you can actually put something together.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Just genuinely looking around, like reading and like watching stuff, and like just talking to other people, you'll be able to like pick up on stuff that maybe not everyone sees, and that means that you'd be able to like look at stuff in a different way and experiment with it, and that then that shows like you reflect on science.
Okay, so we're talking about inspiration now. I guess we can link art and science together. Where do people get their inspiration from? Do you need inspiration for what you do? Rowan, do we need inspiration to do what we do, or do we just do it? I don't know. Do you need inspiration to do art? Do you? Can I just ask you what's your name?
I'm Zubair.
Do you feel like you need inspiration to do what you do?
When you say do what you do, what do you mean?
Well, we're talking about... Okay, it's a bit unfair because I haven't told you about the whole discussion. We're talking about art and science and creativity. There's a guy that's gone now who's kind of said that our sense of exploration has kind of gets disappeared when we grow up because we've got the pressures of life. And then we talked about, maybe that's the same for art and science. Maybe art and science aren't that different after all. And now, what's your name, sorry?
Sarah.
Sarah's saying, well, actually, there's a question of inspiration. To do anything, you need to have the inspiration. To build a building, you have to have the inspiration to do it. And that's where we are right now, talking about inspiration, which I think is an interesting thing. Do you have inspiration?
I think I'm passionate about what I do. Passionate about education, passionate about being creative, experimental, and I think it's somewhere I would probably say in between. My son is 9 now, and hugely creative, but also very fearful. So I think there's an age where you begin to fear about what others think about you, and I think that's biological. And therefore, it's very difficult to
maintain that creativity in the face of fear.
Because if you can't draw, or you think you can't draw, you think that that's it. You're never going to work in the creative industries, or you'll never because at school it's primarily drawing. Whereas you don't have to draw. You can be a maker, you can be a singer, you can be a dancer.
There's a multitude of creative
things.
There's
an age where prior to that, you're not always that bothered about what people think about you.
Okay.
So then, if it just takes one person to say,
that was crap.
You're not very good at drawing. For you to then decide that you're never going to be good at it, which is where the problem lies.
Okay. Has anyone ever said that about your drawings, or do they like your drawings?
No, but you know, you never know what they might think. They might be lying. They might be telling the truth. They might be thinking it's good.
Do you care about what people think about your drawings and stuff like that?
No, I don't really care.
You don't care? Okay.
Personally, I think that society has got us into a place where what people think and what's like social media and everything has an influence on us to make sure that every little comment that people have made, you need to take it personally. When you don't, it's just one person's opinion, and there's billions of people in the world that maybe don't think the same.
Do you care about what people think?
Well, I think there has to be to an extent where you have to care about what people think. But to be honest, no, it's your opinion. It's like what you want to do. So, not really.
Okay, so.
I think there's a gap. I think that you learn that when you're older, and when you start to think about those things, what that people are different and people behaving differently. What's right, what's wrong. There's a sort of age between probably 8 and maybe when you're more confident, you've been successful with your education maybe, or you've been successful with something else in your life, that you start to build those bricks that allow you, so you learn it back again. And I think that's where sometimes things go astray in terms of, and sadly that's the important time where you might be starting to develop where you might go in terms of a career.
Okay, so we're talking about creativity, and basically, one of the things we've identified is that there's this moment when you really care about what people think, and that can put you off from being creative. And then it comes. I don't know if you agree with this thing. Was there a moment where you cared about what people thought about you, and then it disappeared again, or?
I think it's just really temporarily, but you as a person need to think that it's just you. It's no one else.
Okay, do you care about what people think about you?
Every single second. Yeah. That's all I care about. I care about nothing else but everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
what do you
that's
think?
good.
What do you think?
I totally agree. I totally agree with them.
You care about what other people think.
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah. Okay. Olga, what about you? Do you care about what other people think about you and your when you make something creative? What are you, an artist of some kind?
Some kind.
Yeah.
Some kind.
What do you make?
Actually, this fear of like being different and like with whatever you do, it definitely stops you. But yeah, it's the main thing which builds you as well.
Okay, so it's got a double effect in a way. You feel different, so you sort of feel like people are kind of judging you a bit, but that actually pushes you to go further and actually justify what you're doing and
making it even weirder.
Yeah, making it weirder, but more interesting.
Well, yeah, think about it. All the major scientific discoveries and stuff, they were if those scientists, if Isaac Newton or Copernicus or Hawking or any of these people had actually listened to the people that were doubting them, that nothing would have ever discovered. We would still think the world was flat. We wouldn't have had cars. We wouldn't have airplanes. We wouldn't have iPods. We wouldn't have any of the world that we have today. Would we have without people?
Yeah. So
if these people had listened to the people that doubted them, and then
So you've got to ignore the doubters, basically. We're talking. Are you going to give us a final thought? Are you off? Yeah. Do you agree with this? Ignore the doubters. Are you worried about how much you think about what other people think about you?
Yes, totally. Yeah. It occupies my mind 24/7. What other people think of me.
Okay.
I think people is about connecting with each other.
Yeah.
So connectivity is like what human beings are all about. So that's why we care about what people think about you.
Okay, so you do care because you want to connect with people.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you connect with people without that fear of like
I think it's less about fear but more about like how you present yourself, and then the way you present yourself connects with the other people. I don't think it's fear.
Okay.
It's more like how you adapt yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really used to care about what other people thought about me. I really did, and I didn't do anything. I didn't accomplish anything special, and I spent my whole life caring about what so many other people thinking. And the fact that there's a massive different spectrum of people in the world, and some of the people you're going to get on with. There are some people who are interested in the same things you are, whether it's particular music or art or science or whatever you're interested in. There will be people that are interested in, and then there'll be people that just don't, and that's okay too. It's just that you mean that you shouldn't really necessarily listen to those people if they have no idea what you're talking about. Then they're not the people that you should be listening to. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that you shouldn't be listening to them. So I think it's important to sort of differentiate. Okay,
so they're not necessarily bad people. Okay, I just want to fill in some of the people that have just come to the table. What we're talking about? We're talking about this. We started off talking about like, why is it that this sense of exploration in kids seems to disappear? And there was a lady who was a art teacher, who said that sometimes the barriers to creativity is you get to a point 9, 10, 11 where you're worried about what other people think of you, and then you do something creative and everyone goes, oh, that's rubbish. And then maybe you relearn to accept that and you deal with that, or maybe you don't, and maybe you stop being creative and you stop exploring. And then we're just trying to work out what that's all about, basically. That's where we are right now. What's your name again, sorry?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth made the point that part of that creative process to be really, really great, the great scientists had to ignore the doubters and the haters in order to get that far. And that's what we're talking about now. And Olga over here was kind of saying that sometimes that can actually be a positive force to actually go further, that pushes you further.
I think definitely we should ignore people that we not necessarily respect with opinions, and find these ones which we definitely respect and listen to them, and like. Yeah.
So only take the good opinions. Don't necessarily listen to don't necessarily listen to people that are not really understanding what you're doing.
I feel like people doubt you because they're either like jealous or like it's something different. Like people really dislike when things change, and when like there's a change, and like when you have like something new coming out, people are either really excited or want to push it away. And I think people should let out their creativity and like their weirdness, because then you're going to be boring.
So sometimes people react to new things in a the way they don't know how to deal with it. Basically.
Yeah, like all the marvelous creators, they all made a like a ground on the planet because it was different to everyone else's, and if you're not different, then like everything's going to stay the same, and you want to change.
Okay. We want change, we want new things, and therefore we have to sometimes push the barriers. Have you got anything to say?
Yeah, when I was slightly younger, I would sort of encounter some old theories and ideas and stuff, and I'd be very rebellious against them. But as I sort of get slightly older, I start to realize some of the reasons why we might use those kinds of ways of thinking and some of the sort of benefits of those. And so I think there is a sort of generational thing where young people are sort of coming on the scene and they want to,
As a teenager, maybe, you want to challenge
Exactly.
things.
You want to challenge things, you want to go against your parents maybe, or something like that. But then as you grow older, you might sort of realize why things have been chosen in certain ways, and you start to sort of doubt your earlier doubting, maybe.
Yeah,
Something like that.
All right, interesting. So it's a kind of journey through life.
Yeah, but I mean, like you were saying, I think it needs to be different because if I see this conservatism, you kind of see if you need to make, as a teenager, you need to think differently. You need to think yourself, because if you think the same things you as adults, because people still think that but this is something that really annoys me, which is a different topic. But things like the classical music hasn't evolved. That people still think of the Beatles as the best band in the world, given the fact that we've had 40 odd years of great music after them. These kind of things, people kind of still thinking those kind of things. Whereas actually, when you need that progression. You know.
So who is the best band in the world?
Well, there isn't one. There's just loads of different ones. I think Muse are really amazing. There's a band called Molotov Jukebox, but there are so many different bands in music sort of coming on
so you
all
think
the time.
Like relying on the old knowledge basically is a little bit kind of not really thinking, not really accepting new things.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Sorry.
Like, for example, the Beatles, it's like the fundamental, it's like the basics of what is, and then it has progressed, but then people are always going to reflect back on what started it off, like pop music and everything.
Yeah, so you think the Beatles are actually quite important?
Oh yeah, because it was like the first breakthrough for like all the other bands.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to come to you, Ocean, what are you going to say?
Well, she's kind of right, but even them, they're looking into the future, so it's not much looking into the future, but you've got to look into the past.
Okay, so you've got to look back at the past as well. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying? Okay, so you've got to remember things like the Beatles and other classical music that goes even further back. Not just looks at, and maybe that helps you build to the future. We've got a new face. So what's your name?
Sai.
Have you got a view on this? No. Okay. Yep.
Well, just coming back to the sort of the Beatles point, it's something that I completely agree with, because it's always frustrated me that everyone raves about the Beatles. They are objectively not special. They are lucky. They happen to be the band that made it at that time. There were so many other bands that no one can name that were around doing exactly the same thing, exactly the same suits, exactly the same haircuts, exactly the same three-chord wonders. They were lucky, and so they became the influence, which is why I appreciate that they are the influence. They did do what no other band did, which is influence all these other people, but that was just luck of the draw. But people call that talent, and it really bugs me that people confuse luck and talent all the time.
Okay, all right. We're talking about the Beatles now somehow. Any views on the Beatles? You've got the right glasses for it.
Well, I don't personally think it's luck, because like if there is other like loads of bands around the times, then obviously the Beatles must have been something different to them for them to get greater.
Do you think the Beatles had something special that all the other bands didn't have?
I wouldn't call it special, but they must have been different for people to like them more than the others.
No. Okay. So there is that, but actually there's so many different clubs. Like in Liverpool, had to be that one guy who just happened to see the Beatles on that particular day. He could have been at any other club seeing any other of those great bands that we're talking about, but he just happened to be in seeing the Beatles. He didn't see any of the other bands. It's just like today. It's just luck.
Okay, so is there a lot of luck? Was it the same with Copernicus and with Newton? Were there other physicists out there that were that derived these theories, but no one actually noticed that?
Lost my thought. Go on.
Or we're talking about luck and talent. Is it? Oh,
no, there was like lots of scientists which they were having like amazing discoveries which they never been pushed, like Tesla and so on.
Okay, so there are people, there are scientists out there who have not got the credit that they deserve either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, scientists mainly. The biggest one, Darwin. He's really famous for evolution. But Alfred Wallace came up with a theory exactly the same time. Darwin published his theory a week before.
So
a week before, they had exactly the same, and he only found out. So
okay, so and we're bigging up Darwin, poor old Wallace. Well, you remember him, so it's not that bad.
Darwin had he had researched lots more than Wallace had. He had only spent a week or two, and he had spent most of his life going around the world collecting evidence for him to pick up all the ideas that he had.
Okay, all right.
Darwin also had what's his name, Huxley, who was a big proponent of Darwin's, and I think Darwin's probably so famous partly because Huxley was there arguing, this guy was right.
Yeah.
I think there is a large degree of luck with some of these things, but I think a lot of it is like with Beatles, like with Darwin. They're challenging certain established things, and people are getting quite excited about this because it's like a real paradigm shift.
Do you think that in a way there was a Darwin mania in the 19th century, like there was a Beatle mania, maybe a bit smaller, maybe an older crowd screaming at Darwin, going like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
It was kind of funny actually. During Darwin's time, some of his biggest fans were sort of actually the Catholic Church, the people who later sort of turned against him, or from the biopic I read anyway. And it was only later on that suddenly people started to challenge him when they realised that his ideas were sort of more popular than the Church's.
Right. Okay.
But that aside, in both cases, when we're talking about scientists or artists, I'm thinking actually these are both subsets of a larger argument, which is about the institutions around them. Because in both cases, with the Beatles, I do honestly think it's more. It's not entirely luck. Obviously, they are talented. I'm not doubting that. But it's the institution around. It's the music industry at that time that meant that luck was even a factor when it shouldn't have been. And the same, I think, with some scientists. It's the capitalist institution that means that Edison is or was more famous than Tesla. I think that's slowly changing, and I don't really know too much about alternatives to Darwin competitors to Darwin at the time, but I imagine there had been a similar issue, and it seems that it was just the institutions they were in that meant that one person sort of lucked out over another.
Right. Okay.
I think when we're talking about luck, there is a sort of dynamic where if you reach a certain point as an artist or as a scientist, more and more people start to hear about you and talk about you, and it sort of spirals and it sort of grows like that.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it's there's so many people who've got great ideas, great work that they're doing, but they're just not reaching that threshold after which things can really sort of spiral you to the next
trajectory,
superstar level.
Science superstardom.
Yeah, I think there's this sort of very small number of people who gain major recognition, and I think you see that with actors from Hollywood. Everyone in the world knows about George Clooney or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's loads of other artists nobody's ever heard about who might be amazing artists.
Okay. Give us it.
Is because of Hollywood is superficial, and you can only be in Hollywood if you look a particular way. So we talk about Beatles and other bands being talented. Hollywood, it's just if you look pretty and you have basically thin, white, Caucasian, pretty much. So yes, you would not find a person like me in Hollywood. And that's not because I'm not talented or whatever, it's just because of the way I look.
Oh, this is an interesting...
I've got to go.
All right, well that's an interesting one you've thrown in there. Ocean? Excuse me, hang on.
But at the same time, you've got to think, not everything in Hollywood is actually real.
Yeah.
There's a few things that's special effects.
Yeah.
But, so that means some other movie company could have everything that is real.
Do you think we look at Hollywood and we think it's all true? Is that what's going on when it's not true?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
I think it's the same for many companies though. You would expect something, but then they go against it and what you don't actually feel. So Hollywood, okay, you have all the looks and everything, but I don't think you're going to put someone that can't act in Hollywood, even if they look amazing.
Okay.
I totally agree, and additionally to her point, who's now left, so I feel a bit like we're talking behind her back, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But there's loads of well-talented, beautiful white people who don't get recognition. So it's like, why is it that these select few seem to get recognition? Leonardo DiCaprio, whatever. Everyone knows about them. And I think it's, again, this thing about the threshold, that they've reached a certain point where they've got enough recognition that they're going to keep getting new projects, they're going to keep getting promoted, and it just grows like that, and they almost don't have to do anything. And that's that sort of luck element to it. Once you're in the machine,
once you get into the superstar machine, and we all want to be there, let's be honest. It's just like life is just one big roller coaster, and it's great. I'm going to come to you in a second.
It's just, like mathematically, we've got positive feedback where you jump on an upward spiral, and so it sometimes. I mean, you said that there's no untalented actors in Hollywood. Seriously, come on, there's loads, but it's Nicolas Cage has his moments, but yes, he is pretty shit. But sorry, it's so a positive feedback cycle is where something takes in its initial value, adds to it, and then repeats the process, so it only ever goes up. And it's ironic that it's called positive feedback because many times it can be negative. So, for example, something like climate change is an example of positive feedback. But people don't use that term because it sounds like it's a good thing.
Right. Okay, I mean, all right, what I'm kind of concerned, what I'm thinking right now is, how do we get Talkaoke into this cycle of positive feedback so it just goes stratospheric? That's what I would like to know. And
we need a beer tap.
We
need a beer tap.
Would that help?
Yeah, well, look at the queue over there. If we had a beer over here, they'd all be over here.
If you could get someone like Stephen Colbert.
Who?
Yeah.
Or someone like that, someone with a lot of name recognition.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, Talkaoke, they're great. Let's get them on for 10 seasons.
Right.
Then you'd be sorted.
Okay, so we actually need to, what we need to do is buy into the same system that we've been so critical of, and then we'll be, then when we'll be there. Ocean.
Well, that's actually quite true, but like a roller coaster, if there's one break, then the whole thing goes wrong. So for example, if you get one line wrong, then everything goes bad and they don't make any money.
Okay, so you can actually fall off that roller coaster of fame. And that's it. And in a way, then you can't just go back to living a normal life again, can you?
Also, I still don't really I'm not 100% on that it's luck. I think also it's there's other elements to it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's I don't think the word is luck. There must be another way to explain it rather than luck, because it's not for you to be lucky. Also, loads of people, you need to know loads of people for you to get into the to get on the roller coaster. You need to know loads and loads of people.
So it's
to get
also
up
who
to
you
the
know.
line.
It's who you know as well. Okay. Is it the same in science? You have to know the right people.
In science, is more you have to publish in the right journals.
Right.
And I think with artists and actors and stuff.
Are you going, Ocean? Give us a final point. I'll come back to you in a second. What's the most interesting thing you've heard while you've been sitting here?
Well, probably the fact that you can fall off a roller coaster.
Okay. The idea that you can fall off the roller coaster. Okay. How to not die, in a way, isn't it? That seems like that's a very important thing. That is a compelling thing. Give us a final thought, Sarah, before you go.
Society is falling.
That's quite a big, heavy one you've thrown in there. Okay, so it's just like the hardcore now. Where do we want to take this? Have you been listening to all of this? Have you got a final thought or initial thought? Have you got a thought? Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good one.
As society falls, she's saying goodbye, society.
Yeah, bye-bye society.
See you later.
Bye-bye civilization.
Yeah. So this is something that comes up so much in so many different conversations about many different topics, about how society's collapsing, the world's getting worse, everything's getting worse, there's no jobs, all of this sort of stuff. It's completely untrue. That is so culturally Anglocentric. The world on net has only ever got better for everyone. It is only in localized circumstances that things get worse, and the United Kingdom is a great example of this. We are slowly equilibrating, and our standard of living might go down. But
so we're having a kind of global adjustment.
Yeah, and I only ever see it as a good thing. But I don't know if this is because I'm some modern, naive hippie type who just loves the world as a thing and not don't carve it up. But
has your standard of living gone down?
I mean, arguably, because I don't seem to be earning as much as I was about 10 years ago.
Right.
But that's largely self-imposed, I guess. No, I mean, actually, case in point, I don't want to get onto housing, but yeah, I will never own a building. So that's one case in point where, yes, my standard of living is worse than it could have been.
Okay, so we're talking about, is society falling down, or are we just motoring along quite nicely? That's what we're talking about. And Rick, you came to the table.
Oh, I just came to sit down.
Just want to have a little seat. And we're kind of, I guess
in Britain people like to moan a lot, I guess I've noticed. So that's just something.
Yeah.
I think, from what I've read, the living standard for the lower class in what I would call the West, so America and like the UK and large parts of Europe, has stagnated, if not fallen.
Right.
And this is something relatively new, which hasn't happened before. At the same time, though, you're looking at things like the Human Development Index in places like Ethiopia, and it is rising. Okay. So there is a sort of, there's a lot of difference.
So you're sort of agreeing with Rowan, really, that there's an adjustment taking place?
Yeah.
Okay. Olga?
So, definitely our egos are growing, so we are more and more focused on ourselves. So this is what is projecting the sensation of the world. But definitely, if it comes for the quality of life and the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, and the whole
malarkey.
The amount of the food which is waste, for instance.
Okay, so are you saying the quality of life's going down?
In some sort of way, yes, because we are trapped in some sort of system of like working from Monday to Friday. And
right. What do you think about this question of ego? Ego's growing. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a bad thing.
Okay. Come and join in. Is society falling down? We had like a teenage girl saying society's falling down, and these two say no, not really. Okay, well, perfect. Come and have a seat. Okay, fair enough. So we've got Bora, we've got Rowan, we've got Olga, Rick. I'm Mikey. What's your name?
Alex.
Alex, welcome. We're talking about, is society falling down, or is it just an illusion from our place in Britain? The declining power, the post-industrial, post-empirical, post-everything. We're just kind of like the losers on this little island, and things look bad for us, but the rest of the world seems to be growing and achieving stuff.
So you're looking for British nationalism from the New Yorker.
Yes.
Fantastic. When I studied here, the joke people said was, if you want to meet an international crowd in London, you went to the London Stock Exchange. If you want to meet an international crowd in New York, you take a taxi. So it's the global center of commerce, and it's pretty exciting, the ties there are to the rest of the world.
So you're saying categorically no, society's not falling down?
I think depends who you are demographically and from an age perspective. There are a lot of people for whom society's falling down.
It was a teenage girl.
If you're sitting at this table, you're one of the lucky ones.
It was a teenage girl who's sitting at this table who said society's falling down. Is society...
All teenage girls.
Okay, it's more about being a teenage girl. Okay. Anyway, stay here, stay involved in this. I'm not gonna put the microphone to you again. Just say and look interested. You don't have to say anything.
Can we get a bonus for the more people who are here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've got half an hour. We've got to get booked next year for the same gig, so we need to make it interesting. We're running out of time. Is society falling down? That's what we're talking about here.
We got a really interesting question right here. Is society falling down? We have a girl from North Korea.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Katie. I come from North Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad is a diplomat. That's how I escaped the country.
Right. Okay. I mean, do you think, when you view like British society, do you think it's falling down? Do you think it's falling apart?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a great world. I like living here.
Yeah.
More freedom.
Yeah.
I think you should appreciate your life more.
Yeah. You think we don't appreciate it enough?
Yeah, I think you should come and visit North Korea, and you will see how great the life it is. The society is not falling apart.
Okay, all right. So we're talking about, is society falling apart? What do people think? Not necessarily British society. Some people say yes, some people say no. Is it just a natural adjustment that the rest of the world is catching up with us, so it looks like we're not doing as well. That's what we're talking about here. Any views? Have you got a view on this? Is society falling apart? That's what we're talking about here.
From a British perspective, is it falling apart? Yes, in my opinion. Why? Because life is too easy. Free education, free health, free social security, free everything.
Sorry,
you haven't got to try. You can just get whatever you want. But
sorry, I just want to ask you, how is society falling apart in the UK?
So you're asking how it manifests itself.
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, let me give you an example. Who thinks that being here today is a wonderful opportunity of life? So say an example of life not falling apart. Is this a great place to be? Yeah? Okay. Privilege. So I on the Facebook group of my daughter who's age 10, school, so the whole school, I said this event was on. Not one of them responded, not one of them turned up, because they're all out in their four-wheel drive, diesel polluting cars, having huge meals and doing whatever they want, no care for science, no care for art. They're just materialism. Most of them are probably at a shopping centre spending on new clothes and ridiculous amounts of food. Let me pass it over.
Okay, so that's a very vivid picture you've painted of society falling down. Yeah.
All right, I got all the pictures with shopping right here, shopping right there. The 10-year-old, they're girls, man. Come on. Yo, I got a sister who's 15 years old. She's going to clubs. She's getting turned up all day. Okay? Yo, girls just don't. Yeah, that's just what they do. Yo, girls, young girls don't know how to control themselves. They just want to get turned up. They just want to shop. But when they're your age, when they're our age, when they understand what science is all about, they're going to come in.
They're going to be right down here. Okay, so it's just a question of age. Possibly, yeah.
Well,
whoops.
Speaking about age, that's my teenage son with his best friend.
Yeah.
And they came here to study.
Come and have a seat.
No, they eat. So, and I kind of understand your dilemma, how difficult it is to bring young people, but you have to trick them into that. You have to be friendly. So, that's one thing. But also, I'm an immigrant here. I'm Polish. I actually teach English in a secondary school. How did it happen? I don't know. But that's what I do. And I think the main question isn't really about
society.
But how we define what's British society, because am I part of it or not?
Okay. Well, what's your name? Sorry.
I'm Joanna.
Do people think Joanna's part of British society?
Yeah. Really?
There we go. We've answered that one.
Thanks.
So we answered that one. Maybe they wouldn't get the same answer in the conversation we was having earlier on, but that's another. Right now they're saying yes, so that's good. But do you feel that society's falling? No.
Well, I think there is a certain lack of togetherness and action, common action.
Okay, it's not a sense of togetherness. You sort of feel a little bit excluded. You feel a bit like you're not embraced as part of it.
No. I mean, we take action. We do stuff with people. I'm kind of activist in my spare time, but I agree with you about. This kind of how easy everything is.
So it's a bit too easy for everything. Yeah.
My background is in theatre, and back in Poland, we had quite a few people coming from here to study theatre directing, because they were saying there's nothing to do theatre about here, because everything is so pleasant and comfortable. There's no drama.
Okay.
So maybe it's a good thing.
Okay. So we're living in a comfortable, pleasant world, and maybe that's why we've got to the top, and there's only one way. That's down. Okay, come on, sit down. There we go. Look, let's give this man a round of applause. Yeah! Just to fill in actually the audio time between him walking from over there to over there. What's your different view?
Different view is, imagine how many people, if you take percentage, how many study in Imperial College, and on the end of the day, when they finish degree, how many stay in England, how many just jump away to don't pay this 50 grand.
Okay, to escape the fees.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And on that case, we're losing. And
we're losing brains.
Yeah, we're losing brains. It's the drain brain. I tell you, if we see the 80s, sorry, there was 80s, 90s. Yeah, 80s, there was a Harrier jet. Last things, what is there? Great Britain, Harrier jet is there. After this one, we don't have any...
It all went downhill.
Oh, we got hell. We got all of these manufacturers going away from England. That's not good.
So you think it is going a bit downhill?
It is that way. And I think the Cameron want to change that, but he's not doing so good job so far.
Okay, all right, interesting. So Britain made the Harrier jump jet, and then since then, it's been a bit of a kind of like dry period. Come and get involved in this. Is Britain going downhill?
He wants to be a sheep.
Okay.
I think we should also consider the house prices. Because they're so expensive, no one really wants to stick around here.
Right, okay, I see.
Most millennials can't afford a property.
Yeah.
It's the 21st century, and the house prices are just absolutely rocketed up in comparison to the US or Europe. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Maybe we could entice more people to come if the house prices were much lower.
Okay, so that's the reason why all the brains are getting drained, because they can't afford to live. They end up living in a tiny little shoebox, bit similar to that, but without the chicken in it. So is that what it's about? But you know, this life of comfort and the life of living in a tiny place, is it the same? Is this these two different stories? A picture of teenage girls driving around in massive cars, buying and eating what they want, and people not affording to live here. There's two different...
There's also these lucky teenage girls driving these amazing cars, but are they happy? Are they actually any happier than, say, the teenage girls from the time of the Beatles, which you were discussing earlier, where they would just be maybe playing in the park, maybe chatting with their friends? So in a way, it's stay and be involved in this, please, because you've contributed. But is it not a crisis? So it's not about making stuff or having stuff, but it's a kind of almost like a sort of spiritual thing that it's kind of meaningless what they're doing, hanging around in. Which actually, if you take it to the extreme, and I think extreme is the word, it leads to potential of radicalisation, and that is a huge risk to the country.
Okay, so the reason why maybe people are getting sucked into these radical things is because there's no meaning, there's nothing going on.
I want to say something.
What's that? Yeah,
No.
What were you going to say?
I had an earlier thing to say about the girl, you know, these teenage girls driving these expensive cars, and whether they're happy. And I think it just depends on what makes you happy. I mean, me and my friend, we don't drive expensive cars, but we're completely fine. We don't drive at all. And
can I ask you, from your point of view, do you feel like the country is going down, the society's going down, Britain's falling apart, going down?
Well, I mean, I don't think I know enough about the current state of the country to actually.
Do you see yourself staying in Britain, or do you see yourself leaving, going somewhere else? I
don't see myself leaving, but that's, you know, much less of my choice to make. But no, I don't think I would. I think I'd be quite happy to continue living here.
And have you got a positive view for the future?
Well, I mean, obviously there's a lot of hidden issues that maybe aren't as clear.
Give us a final thought before you go. Sorry.
People like me, but yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear about?
Well, I mean, from your perspective as an outsider, what do you think of this country? Do you think it's on the way down? Is it on the way up?
I think it's on the way up on the roller coaster. It's gonna thrive. You guys should appreciate your life more.
Okay, we're not appreciating our life enough.
You should come and visit my country, and you will see how great everything
once
here
again,
is.
What's that country?
North Korea.
North Korea, okay.
Sorry, how easy was it to come here from North Korea? Were you privileged?
My dad is a diplomat. That's why I got the chance. It's really hard to come up.
Okay.
But you should come and visit. It's possible.
Is it possible to come and visit?
Yeah, you guys have those touristy groups that you can join. It's quite expensive, but it's worth coming. Come and have
it's worth seeing. Okay. All right, so maybe we could ask the same question about North Korea. Is North Korea going down? Is Britain going down? What's your name, sorry?
My name is Tom. I have got to say about this one, what I see from different angle. My son is very good designer, computer programmist, and he's a couple of years ago he's have got a study outside of the, the special working people doing the cleaning, all the stuff. My son was designer on the computer, the program for the robotics arm to pick up the subject by the voice. And now he decided, no, you're not going that way. You're going computer games, just for the money, not for the things to improve.
So
not because we wanted to get the world better. Because there's this, you know, everything is now about money, money, money. If we want something change, we need to change like a nation altogether.
Okay, so in a way, you've got sort of a similar thing that there's a kind of there's a spiritual element. Come and sit down, come and get involved in this. We're talking about, is Britain going downhill? Have we got a spiritual crisis of meaninglessness in this country? That's what people are saying on the table.
Well, what I wanted to add is one issue is obviously the access to education, and we know that it's not entirely free. You said it's free. It's not. Obviously, you have fees for the university, which are big obstacle for some people, and so that's one thing. So it's not so rosy after all. But also, what I wanted to say is that you know, there's obviously this beautiful British spirit of complaints.
Yeah.
And
you don't get that in Poland.
Not really. No. When I came back to Poland after I think 2 years, and for those 2 years I worked at the VNA here, and we complained quite a lot as a sport. You know, just daily complaints. You know, normal stuff.
Yeah.
And I came back to Poland, and my friends asked me how is work, and I started complaining as by default, and they were like, they were so scared. Are you serious, really? I just realized I do it as a default. So you know, I think this is counterbalanced by the sense of humor.
Okay, so we like to complain, but we also, and it's maybe part of our sense of humor. Hello. Come take a seat. No age limit on Talkaoke. We're talking about, is Britain going downhill? Is it about this sense of like melancholy in a way? Come and have a seat. What are we talking about? What do you think your future is going to be like? Is it going to be nice, or is it going to be like terrible? Give us a final thought.
Well, I think it's one of the best societies in the world, to be honest.
Oh right.
I think so.
Good, yeah.
You know, it's so diverse. It's just so clever, entrepreneurial, and you know, with a great sense of humor.
Okay.
And great language. So, thumbs up.
Dziękuję bardzo. Give us a final thought.
I would concur absolutely, and I really hope that that it's nurtured and that the British culture can be maintained.
Yeah.
I'm really worried for my kids who, to be honest, I'm thinking about which country to move to. So I feel it really is going to go downhill.
Okay.
So much change. How much can we tolerate?
Okay. It touches on some things we were talking about earlier on. Yeah, we're nearly finished today. Thank you very much. Have you got any? Have you been running around a festival today? Have you seen anything today? Anything interesting?
We've literally been at the same place, queuing for like half an hour and then going in for half an hour.
What did you queue to go
It was
see?
the Explore Zone, I think it was.
Did you explore anything?
Yes.
Did you find out anything?
Well, it's quite hard to explain.
Okay, can you have a go of explaining it? What did you find out? Was it worth the queuing?
Yes, I guess.
Just about worth it, yeah.
Just
Well,
about worth it.
I'm not going to go and queue because I don't know what you're talking about, because you haven't really explained it that much.
Well, basically, we learned that there's.
What did you learn?
Again? That. So when the oxygen is closed on like the tube thing,
but like when you seal it.
Yeah. It shows like the clearness, so then when you let go, when you put it in oil, and when you let all of the oxygen out, you can't really see the I always forget the name.
No, because like when you're like that, the oxygen can't go in. So when you let the oxygen in, you can't see the gas thing.
Okay, I'm still not really sure. Do you know anything about this?
No, I wasn't with them. Talking about the longest thing.
Oh yeah. I made the second longest jelly worm.
Okay. What's the jelly worm?
So it's basically jelly made into a worm by putting it in this thing. Yeah. I don't know how to
Okay, so you made a very, very long jelly worm, and there's something about oxygen and oil.
Break time.
Okay, what have you been doing today? Have you enjoyed the festival?
Yeah, I love the atmosphere here.
What's the highlight for you?
just seeing a lot, scientists look people. I love it. I just love watching, people are active in doing all this, scientific experiment and teaching people and helping kids to realize how important it is. I think I enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah.
Rather than in details.
Do you think you can tell who's a scientist and who's not?
Yeah, I can. All scientists are like wearing glasses and look like not dangerous at all.
Okay. The scientists look very safe.
Yes.
My glasses in my mum's bag. Otherwise, you would look very safe.
Okay, so scientists look kind of safe. They wear glasses. They look like nice people.
Yeah.
Are you a scientist? You're not a scientist. You look kind of safe and you're wearing glasses. You're not a scientist. Ex-art student. Oh yeah, and yeah. Join the club. Join the club. Here we are. Anyway. Okay. Well, we're just.
Dad's a scientist.
Yeah. Where's Dad? Is Dad around?
Dad's a scientist.
Where is he around?
Where's your dad? Oh, he's right there. Hey,
Where?
Daddy, join a scientist. Mr. Scientist there, who's my
Okay, we're talking about scientists. Do you come and sit down though? We're talking about art. Do scientists look safe? That's what we're talking about at the moment. They kind of look safe and okay.
This makes more sense. Questions were raised a second ago. Cool.
Yeah. Are scientists safe? That's what we're talking about, really. Do they look safe? They're not safe. They're not safe. They're dangerous people. Is it the fact that they look safe that makes them even more dangerous?
Yes.
Okay.
They're altruistic is their cover.
Okay. All right. So they look like they're helping other people, but actually they're very dangerous. Almost careerists in a way, I suppose you could say. All right. So I think it's pretty much time to call this to an end. Have we got any final thoughts? And that goes out to anyone that's actually listening. Any final thoughts? We need closure on this. We need to go home thinking that we've done a good job. That we're actually going to get invited back next year, no matter what. So we need some final thoughts that are good and profound. Yeah.
Scientists make you vulnerable.
Okay. Why?
Because.
That wasn't really what I was looking for, to be honest. Okay, any final thoughts?
No.
Okay.
Move along.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, everyone is such a downer on the world, but generally speaking, things only get better, and science is a massive driver for that.
What about we talked a lot about the pollution, the superbugs.
It's all going to change. It's all going to go away. These are all like momentary. They're all transitory things, transient things, transient problems. Science is solving them if it's given freedom.
Okay. Have you got any final thoughts?
Did we talk about pollution and things like that?
About 2 days ago, yeah.
Okay. I have an observation. I think in the UK, people throw rubbish. No, it's not pollution, but looking after the environment. I think people in general are not very careful,
very respectful of their environment,
because they just throw rubbish everywhere. You can see walking on the street, even in the playground.
How do you stop them from doing that, or how do you get them?
Yeah, everybody needs to have this awareness. You don't throw, and when you see that, you pick up to help.
Okay.
I think parents need to do that to educate their kids.
Hello.
Yeah.
We're just about to finish this, but we're just trying to round off the. Have you got some? Maybe this man's got something to say. What? Hang on.
My daughter and my wife.
Okay.
I love the idea that all scientists are safe. You like that one too? I know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because you looked over there and said he studies the ex-arts. This man, he's an ex-art student.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and me too, actually.
Yeah. So I think we met some biomechanical guys who look very cuddly.
Yeah. But the question is
But I've met guys who study microwave technology and weaponry.
Yeah.
Who do not look quite so cuddly.
Right. Okay. So
I'm being a bit light about this.
Okay. I mean, are scientists actually a lot more dangerous than they appear? They appear to be safe, but they're dangerous people.
We're very dangerous.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Because we've heard from a lot of people that saying scientists look very safe. Generally, they wear glasses, and they look kind of cuddly. But are they actually safe, or is that a cover for something a bit more dangerous?
It's because the ethical dimension is often excluded from their work.
Right. What does that mean?
What I mean is, if you know, for people working on nuclear physics, it's just the solution that matters. Not
they don't care about the consequences.
Well, they might care, but it's not written into their contract.
Okay. So, I think ethics is written into the contract. Yeah.
I think a true scientist should question everything.
Why?
Not only very good. Not only just their area of research. They should also look beyond that and see what it's going to be applied for. So, for example, nuclear technology. We can use it to send space rovers and things like that to explore outer space, or we could make nuclear bombs. So
and so it's actually
a tool. It's just a technology.
So you're
how
saying
you use it, it depends on other factors that scientists don't really get a role in.
Yeah, but you're saying the scientists should get involved in that. They should actually see the consequences of what their research is doing. They should actually think about it a little bit.
We should strap them to ballistic missiles so they get the full experience. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you a scientist?
No.
No? Okay.
I'm a psychologist.
That's not a scientist.
Well,
it sounds like it's an ologist.
It is. I'm an ologist. That's true. Yes.
Yeah, but you don't see yourself as a scientist.
And I study profoundly, but I'm studying.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think we're all scientists, really.
Yeah.
Because we all apply science and scientific methods in our everyday lives, but some people like to go by the name of scientists, and some people there is no division. We're all learning as we go along, and
so consequently we should all be aware of the consequences of our actions and the potential outcomes, be us psychologists, talk show hosts, ex-art students. You need to be aware of the consequences of your actions and your research. Yeah.
No, the consequences of your inactions
as well. Anyway, what were you going to say?
I think the ethical conversation is an interesting one, but I think research is all-consuming, so you tend not to bother about where it's going. You just need to write the paper, write the thesis, get the results, work out what you've got. Exactly.
Okay, so there's a pressure to not bother about those things.
But also, I think people lose sight of the fact that fundamental research is intrinsically amoral. It's the application of it that could be good or bad. There's nothing wrong with nuclear research. It's the application, like you were kind of saying. And like,
so are you sort of disagreeing a little bit with Sharon that we should actually, that the scientists have got a responsibility to think about that?
Well, I mean, because they can't. It's not the scientists who decides to turn the fundamental research into a weapon or something that helps us. I mean, nuclear is a great example because nuclear fusion will probably be the thing that saves us. So without the nuclear research, we wouldn't have that. And
I love the idea of that, and I don't want to disagree with you, but who was it that took that technology and weaponized it? Was that a scientist?
No. It was Eisenhower. So it was the President of the United States who...
So
you think the scientists can actually develop weapons? How would you feel? If there?
No, hang on. I'm not trying to demonize scientists. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Can I just ask you, how would you feel if the products of your psychological research got used for weapons? A psychological weapon.
I'm pretty sure it won't, but my research is opening people's hearts, not closing them. So yeah.
Okay.
Very different.
Well,
worlds,
literally or metaphorically?
Yeah, not literally. No.
Okay.
Emotionally.
Oh, okay. I sort of feel that we need to get this to an end. But one more point, and then we get final thoughts.
No, going back to the scientists developing the nuclear weapon, they also had the brilliant idea of, relatively brilliant, by saying, why don't we just drop it off in the sea and just show these guys the power of this thing, instead of dropping it on a city, and just that will end the war. That's enough to end the war. They will not fight on if they know that we have this power. But they didn't follow through, and they went ahead and dropped it on.
Okay, so scientists wanted to do like a test explosion with somewhere with no people, just to demonstrate it. Okay, and it never happened. Because of the politicians. Okay, so now is the time, and I was put out this quote, just as I did 5 minutes ago. We need to round this up, we need closure, we need to go away in our van back to East London with some profound thoughts that we have done something here. So let's have some final thoughts.
Doesn't matter whether we're moral or amoral. Scientists aren't the people who make the decisions in the end anyway.
Okay. Any other final thoughts? Final thought?
So, right now we're sitting under this tent. We're not ploughing fields. We're not doing all sorts of other things that we should be doing to survive because of science. And we should be grateful for it, and we should advance it instead of complaining and whining and yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we should seek to create a social structure that promotes the use of scientific knowledge and power in the right way. That's what we should do.
And
what?
Any other final thoughts? Final thoughts from the standing audience? You got any final thoughts to round this up? Have you had a good time at the festival? Okay. Final thought?
Advertising and the power of tabloid papers is one of the biggest evils in the world. That's psychology, not nuclear physics.
Okay, so psychology... Is psychology more dangerous than nuclear physics?
In the grand scheme of things, everything is equally good or bad.
Okay.
It's only the context that defines its relative merit.
Okay, any final thoughts?
Yeah, the parallels are profound. I mean, bad psychology is more destructive and evil than any mechanical science, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
dangerous. Any final thoughts?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, we're just about to close this down. We might have to invite you to next year's Imperial Festival, should we get the booking. Any other final thoughts? It has been a journey for us, and it's been very enlightening. What's that? Anything, the festival today, what the discussion around the table. You haven't actually been here, but just what's in people's heads as they go home.
I've got a final thought. I think STEM is very, very important.
Yeah.
And the earlier you start teaching it to kids, the more passionate they'll get about it. Because I think, from what I understand, 70% of all the jobs in the world has something to do with STEM.
Okay.
So
STEM being
science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm just texting you guys. And maths, all right?
Okay. Psychology. What about psychology? Okay. All right. And psychology. Okay. Right. We're going to have to end this now. Thanks to everyone. Let's have a massive round of applause. I've logged onto the website. Yeah.
No, it's maths.
It's maths!
Is STEM science, technology, engineering and medicine, or engineering and maths? That's what we'd like to know. No, it's been both. We'll find out next year, exactly. So something to talk about next year. We've got to end it there. Thanks to Rick on camera. Thanks to Rowan in the middle. And thanks to everyone that's taken part.